Welcome to Minority Focus. I'm your host, Jimmie Moore, and we have a guest today that wants to, or has addressed, a matter of huge concern in Paducah. We don't often do that. We as a people don't often address some of the more pertinent things. I need to begin by saying, if anything that's mentioned or said on the show is contrary to what or who it's about, you are welcome to come to the show for a rebuttal, to give your side or your version of whatever's said. That's totally open to you. And just give us a call. Let us know that you'd like to do a show, and we'll try to set it up as soon as possible. Robert Shire, I am very, very happy to have you.
Yes, sir.
Have you on the show.
Pleasure to be here.
The primary thing that we mentioned talking about was the Keeton House. Is that the name of it? The Keeton House.
Absolutely.
Which is the halfway house.
Absolutely.
Out in the community of Gaines Avenue and et cetera, and the problems that it's been having lately with some of the people that come there. If I may, let me start by asking, what's the purpose of the place? What are they supposed to be doing? I mean,
well, again, it's a halfway house there, and there's two folds there. A is, again, people that are in the criminal justice system. Again, it houses those individuals there, as well as people that are transitioning out of the system. So you have the two different people there, and so it's, again, a halfway house, so it's not a fully secure facility. You have an opportunity to go out into the community and come back, and so it's been there again since 1982. Mm-hmm. So even though it just may be now getting a little bit of publicity, that Keeton House has been there for well over 35 years.
The range of the types of people
Absolutely.
that are sent there. Does it entail the full realm of crimes or committed? Doesn't matter what you. Are there murderers there and robbers there?
No, and actually some of those, and obviously I'm not certainly a person to speak in terms of the number of the people that are there, but for the most part, they're the people that may be there that are some of the hardened crimes. Then those are the people that again are, for the most part, transitioning out. So if you've done your 10 years, you've done your 12 years, you've done whatever, and so now you've been released or whatever, and you may not have a place to be released to.
Right.
Then, I mean, you've done your time, and now it's time to transition back into the community. Right. And so part of that is it serves for those people as well. So it's again, for the most part, people that are there mm-hmm.
have
been deemed by the criminal justice system to be safe.
Right.
I mean, don't think they would put someone there who they suspected would, go out and terrorize the community.
For sure. So it's a probation place. You finish your sentence, but you're going to be in probation and watched for X period of time.
Absolutely.
You got no house, home, family to go to.
Right.
That's a place for you. You any idea how Paducah got chosen for a place like that?
Well, again, the answer is no, I do not. But my main concern with that is, again, halfway houses are all over the state of Kentucky, and obviously all over the country. Right. But the thing that struck me the most was that the Keeton House is the only one, according to our authorities, right, that is located in a residential community. Right. And so that struck me as being odd and not fair.
So it sounds like 20 cities in Kentucky, and the Kentucky people, DLC, says, hey, anybody out there want to? We need this place to put a house
right.
like this, and nobody says, yeah, but Paducah. I mean,
right.
Obviously.
Exactly, and not only that it's not only in a residential community, but it is a residential community that I believe that has been neglected for years. no other place around town, in terms of community, this place would have been acceptable. But this community, again, has been neglected for years, and so that's where they put it. You know, so that's not by mistake.
South Side.
Absolutely.
South Side. I wondered about that. I wondered about any number of things. One of them was, I wonder, is having it in Paducah, period, of great monetary value to the city, community. You know,
Definitely not, because I mean, I hadn't really looked at it in terms of that. And of course, it really wasn't on my radar until the recent incidents. And part of what I wrote about was, you know, again, if you looked at the numbers, that these were the numbers that were published in Paducah Sun. Right. And, you know, this came from, they had three spokespersons that spoke about this. One was the current sheriff, Richard Abraham, who's the current city commissioner, right, and Mr. Steve Bartleman, who's the current county commissioners. Right. So these people actually released some numbers, and part of those numbers and they released the last 5 years. And you know, let me just say here, what's happened over the last 5 years is just nothing's changed. It's, for the last 35 years, those numbers would probably pretty much be the same. But over the last 5 years, 600 and something people that have been stationed there have violated their terms of being there, sent back to prison. 600 something in the last 5 years. Right. 163 people have walked away or escaped. Obviously, if you're free to go during the daytime, you're supposed to be back, maybe didn't come back or whatever. Right. 163. Now, here's where the problem comes in. 162 people walk away. It's not a big deal. That 163rd person that walked away just happened to assault a sheriff's deputy. Now, they were committing crimes in that community and everywhere else, no big deal. But now you committed a crime against somebody who matters. Because what they're saying is the people there don't matter. You haven't mattered.
What's saying?
Because we didn't have a problem. We didn't speak up for the under 162 people. We didn't say that, hey, you know, maybe there's something wrong here. Maybe this place needs to be moved. Right. But only when a sheriff's deputy, one of them, was assaulted, did it make a difference. Yeah. You know, did it come to the forefront, and now it got their attention. So that's where my problem arises right there.
I wonder, and I can but wonder, because I don't know. Right. But I wonder, of all of those other people who walked away, escaped, whatever. Well, you can't use escape because it's an open place.
It's an open thing, right.
They simply don't come back.
Right. That's right. You just say walk away.
They just sleep. But I wonder what the history is of crimes committed by any of those people, or not so much whether the crimes were committed or not, but were crimes committed against the people in the neighborhoods to which attention wasn't paid.
Absolutely.
Like it's being paid.
Right, absolutely. And again, one thing that after I wrote the article, I did get several responses, you know, from different people. And one of the responses actually came from County Commissioner Bartleman, you know, who was one of the people who held the press conference and met with the people at the state. And what he said was that the state doesn't notice anything unless it's a high-profile case. And so I'm like, oh, that's what I said. Exactly. Something happens to you and me, it doesn't matter. What makes it high profile? Because this was a white deputy, right? So all those crimes that were committed in this neighborhood against other people, it didn't matter because it wasn't high profile.
There's so many things involved in all this stuff, you know, about sending people down here and all of that. You'd think that wherever that particular man came from, at some point in time and during his incarceration, they would have become aware of what this man was capable of what kind of criminal personality he. This guy steals a policeman's car and drives off and crashes it. While that's a pretty heavy duty kind of, you know.
Right. Right. And actually, believe it or not, he wasn't supposed to be there. It was a administrative error that placed him there.
The officer that
Not the officer, but the system, the
oh, I see.
right. So
I see.
state system.
He wasn't supposed to be at.
He was supposed to be in jail.
Is that right?
Right. So he was supposed to be in jail. So that was just one of those cases where someone was not supposed to be there. He was supposed to be in jail, but instead, you know, because of human error,
right,
he was placed there. So he wasn't the typical prisoner, shall I say, resident
right,
that should have been there. A mistake caused him to be there.
right. And nobody's accounted for that.
Well, they're aware of it and they admitted it.
Right.
You know, but obviously, you know, so that's the reason why he was there. So, you know, so for the most part, you know, absolutely, you know, the assumption, because, you know, if this many people have been there over the years, and, you know, for the most part, it's been peaceful. Mm-hmm. And so some of the violations that may have been committed, obviously, if they just hadn't gotten attention, you know, so it's, you know, so a lot of things can happen, but if it doesn't get attention, then you don't know. Obviously, if you live in that neighborhood and your car was broken into, your house was broken into, or just whatever, right, I mean, you make a report, you send it in, but that's never going to get anyone's attention. Even though if you bring it to their attention, it doesn't matter.
Right. You would think that it does. You know, with the way things are done in a lot of agencies,
okay,
and it stands to reason that the more is involved, the more cases or what have you that might come through the police system, etc., right, the more apt a mistake is to be made.
Right.
That's. I used to tell people often. You shouldn't be so upset about a letter getting lost to the Postal Service when they handle millions of pieces of mail. Somewhere, some point in time, it's going to happen. But how does, in a legal system, whether it's, I'm not sure what I'm trying to say, but I think I'm trying to say, how much emphasis is put on tracking people when they come here, noting what they do, where they go? Do you simply say, there's a house you can stay at over there. You can come go as you please. Don't commit no crimes now. See ya. Can't be that simple. There has to be some particulars paid. Say, for example, if a guy runs over a stop sign in a car,
okay,
and goes to jail for it, and comes down here to the halfway house, and he goes out and to work every day, whatever, nobody's going to watch him an awful lot. What was his crime? I mean, come on. It was a crime against property.
Absolutely. But
crimes against life, human beings, and what have you, it seems like there would be some kind of monitoring, right, daily, hourly, of a person who has that behind him.
And believe me, there may be. And like I said, I just really hadn't done a big, you know, research background on this, on that place there. And then I did go there to speak with someone, and of course they referred me to state spokesperson. Right. So in terms of background information, I simply don't have, you know, other than the fact that, you know, I know it's been there for a very long time. And, right, you know, I did talk to some people in the community, and for the most part, it's been a peaceful place. I mean, I've actually hung, you know, before I wrote the article, I kind of hung out for a few days, you know, chatted with the guys out in the, you know, the courtyard and, you know, picnic tables. So, you know, good people. I mean, most of them just, you know, went left, and they should have gone right. Right. You know, and so for the most part, you know, I mean, they're good people. You know, they obviously were convicted of, you know, committing some type of crime or another. Right. Many of them just simply want to get transitioned back into the community or another community or whatever, right, and they're good people. Right.
And some people. They don't have family. That sounds kind of strange in today's society, but a lot of people simply don't have family because family doesn't exist anymore. dead, or what have you,
Right.
or the connection to family is broken, been broke for 50 years. They don't want to know. Family
Right.
doesn't want to know them.
Right.
Doesn't want them back. That's a nice thing for.
Well, I think that, and also I think, once you've been, and of course I've had brothers myself that's been in the prison system, two of them, more than enough of their life than they should have.
Right.
And generally, first few years, there's that contact there, and then, after the years go along, generally there's less and less, because there's that break. And that's be the same thing if they weren't in the prison system. One moved to California, other than the phone or whatever, it's just communication phone or Texas or Facebook or whatever. But certainly that communication and personal communication is certainly not there. Obviously, they come for holidays and things like that. So there's always going to be, even with people that are not incarcerated, time is going to separate many people. But yeah, so if you've been gone 10 years or 5 years or whatever, then, certainly coming back to, you may not be able to have anything to come back to. Obviously, you don't have a place to live.
Right.
So you is basically live with mother, live with, who else you gonna live?
Exactly.
Mama's the only place, home is the only place that's home.
Exactly.
Other than that, you got to simply, find a home. And so generally, obviously, you get out of jail, release, you don't have any money, and so, then so it takes a period of time to rebuild for some people. And then that's, it just takes time to rebuild for many people, period, but obviously if you're incarcerated, then, certainly there's that transitional period where, you got to get out and you got to find work, you got to find house, and you got to find all those things, because if you release me to nothing, okay.
Then where do I go? What do I do?
Chances are, you may resort to.
What do you do? Precisely, what do you do?
Right.
And then you've got the stigma, number one, that's going to keep you from working a lot of different kinds of jobs. You're supposed to tell the truth when you go to ask for a job, that you are an ex-convict, et cetera. The average employer sees that, and you
Absolutely, right, absolutely. Yeah. So without a doubt, it serves its purpose. Halfway House serves its purpose, but the problem comes within, again, where it is located. I'm quite sure there's plenty of office areas, industrial parks, remote areas, whatever, city, county, county that it could be placed instead of right down in the middle of.
Right. So overall, it's a good thing.
Oh, absolutely.
But every rose has its thorns, and everything that's good, you can find an element of bad. That's understandable. Which brings me to another part of the article that you wrote that I hadn't given a whole world of thought to. And I've heard it put this way, amongst a number of people in Paducah: from the riverfront up, the city of Paducah desires, this is a quote now, I don't know this,
All right.
to own all of that for beautification and building and creating this wonderful, beautiful downtown area. And that the movement to do that is steadily coming westward. Does that neighborhood not fit into that same realm of? You mentioned something along those lines.
I did, and for the most part is, I've lived several different places in my life, and when I think about, let's say Chicago, let's take Chicago, downtown Chicago, there's a lot of brownstones that were there that people lived in, areas became neglected, poor people start moving in, and then what happens is, the city comes in and in terms of code ordinances and things like that, so basically people move out, poor people move out.
Yeah.
Then these things they're remodeled, they're rebuilt, basically they're remodeled, right? And now you have poor people move out, middle class and affluent people move in, because ideally, you're in a city. Downtown is where the happiness is. So along those same areas, there is absolutely. When you look at not just that area there. You look at Lower Town. What Lower Town obviously deteriorated,
Right.
and now the people living in Lower Town is a bit different. You take Fountain Avenue.
Right.
The people living in Fountain Avenue now are totally different.
Exactly.
From 10, 15 years ago. And Fountain Avenue is an area that was very intriguing to me.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've been away for many years, and so sometimes I would come to visit. I'd ride in the area. This is before the rehabilitation part of it. And for me, I thought, wow, this is, because growing up, that was a good neighborhood. That was a great neighborhood.
Right.
And so, A, what happened to it? And B, the thing is, normally in places where I've lived, people move out and they usually sell or rent.
Right.
And to see so many empty houses that had become dilapidated and things like that, and I'm like, why would someone walk away from this and leave it just empty to deteriorate when they could have had, they could have been a slum, what I'm saying? Right. Something in there. And so that was an intriguing thing as I visited the city, what I was seeing going on. And then, what you just mentioned, sometimes there's that, in an article I called it benign neglect. And that's simply, and that was a term from the, I think going back to Reagan years there, is, again, if I just don't do anything, then your community is going to deteriorate. Right. Same thing if you have a house. You put somebody in it, just regular daily living, it'd be fine, but board it up or just let it sit and not do anything to it. Right. So there's no one there to destroy it, but it's just sitting there, it's going to deteriorate. And so from a community point of view, is we're not putting anything into this community in which they're not. Right.
Well, there seems to be a give and take kind of thing going on there, I think.
Okay.
In the one area, they've put up these pretty houses.
Oh, absolutely.
2-story houses. There's an entire block. I think maybe Blackburn Apartments or something might have been there once upon a time. I'm not sure. Right. I didn't grow up here.
Right.
I'm like you. I came back after.
Right. Well, I mean, it was Lincoln.
Okay, Lincoln course. Well, they got these nice houses and everything with driveways and nice salons and etc. A block over is where the
absolutely, and of course that right there is the heart of South Side or whatever. It's certainly the heart of it. And so again, just think about the Lincoln Homes was the name of those apartments when I was growing up there. Again, it's gone. The houses that are there, certainly beautiful homes. And so that area there, that little small block there certainly has been beautified. But if you go up a little further, and the reason why I actually mentioned that is growing up as well. 7th, we basically call it 7th, the set. Okay, the people growing up, from when I was in high school, it was the set. Yeah. And of course, your mother told you, don't go to the set.
And you went.
And you went, right, of course. Because you had to see what it was why she didn't want you to go. And obviously, the area there was perceived, or could have been high crime area as well. And so again, eventually, obviously, city came in. I mean, that whole block is gone. It's kind of torn down. Right. You have that whatever jail extension, all that stuff is there now. And so that was kind of my thoughts there. Is downtown is still right there in that area though, and so if we're still looking at 2 or 3 blocks, then certainly there's a possibility that things could be expanded out. Some of that area, some of this ground space could be used for other municipal or private buildings there. So that right there certainly was a thought, and that's one of the things I kind of put in the article there is all of a sudden, and again, the other area there is, again, the drug bust. And I mentioned that as well. Stevie Wonder could see that, there's been illegal activity in that area for years. So now And the article, I mean, that I read, and can prompt me in the right mind was, people there have been started to complain. Well, people have been complaining for years. The last 20, 25 years, ever since the beginning, people have been complaining. So now you're listening to them. Why now? It's good.
Yeah.
And that was my question to them: is what's your motive? Why are you listening to now? I mean, you knew all this stuff was going on in the past, so now. What's the focus? And those two, Keeton House, drug bust, all these were basically within a block or so from each other.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, the wheels are spinning as in, okay, what's really going on? What's the motive?
Yeah. If you leave room for thought, thoughts will be thought if you leave
Right.
room for them. The people, I don't want to say the powers that be, I'll say the people that are involved. They may have been touched by your article in one way or the other.
Right.
Have you heard from them directly?
Well, other than the county commissioner, again, and so he basically he was a newspaper. He worked for newspapers. Bartman. And so his thought was, what he expressed was, even he worked for the newspaper, it was a concern of his, and he wrote about it and wanted to bring to people's attention, and but just now. Again, the high-profile case, so it's been on his radar all along. So he did respond that, hey, this has kind of been on my radar all along. Right. But sometimes it's just opportunity. Right. You see things happening, and this is a great opportunity. So if that's the case, then I certainly applaud him for that. And he did respond. Yeah. And actually, thanks for holding us accountable was kind of how he ended it there. So if that's his motivation, then I applaud that. Yeah. He responded. The other ones, don't matter, right? Yeah. I mean, I know they read it, they heard about it, right?
I've often said about a minute ago here. I've often said that in a lot of cases where you see things happening, and even things in the paper that something happened. This is a dangerous place. My instant thought is, you're not going to do anything about it until something dastardly happens.
Absolutely.
And that's when we seem to fix stuff.
Right.
When we take the time to think about it. Time is short. Maybe you come back one day and we'll talk some more. I'll definitely be looking for some more of your articles in the paper, straight up, honest, and,
yes, sir.
and real. And I appreciate it. I appreciate you.
All right, well,
Thanks a lot for coming on.
Absolutely, it's been a pleasure.
A lot of people do a lot of things. They say because, well, I'm only human, and this is the human way. And I've looked in a lot of Bibles, and I can't find the word human being in there to save my life. Is it about being a human being, or are we supposed to do what's right? For Minority Focus, I'm your host, Jimmie Moore.